What's up, your boy for another reaction. In today's video, we have the World Cup and the Mexican Cartel by Trap University. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into it.
18, Nemesio Ruben Aceguera Cervantes, or El Mencho, was at the height of his power as the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, a group that would become the most active cartel in Mexico from 2018 to 2020, where they would commit more acts of violence than any other group in the country. And at the same time, Mexico had just won the bid to host part of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, with one of the venues being Estadio Akron in the state of Jalisco, the home base of the CJNG. Now, the World Cup is by far the most viewed event in the entire world. Over here in the US, many Americans believe that the Super Bowl holds that title, but the most viewed Super Bowl of all time was in 2025, when the Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Kansas City Chiefs in front of around 128 million viewers. The 2025
that was the most viewed one? Why? Oh, because you know, the Chiefs and the 3P, niggas thought the Chiefs was going to 3P and it was going to be the first thing we ever seen. That's why.
World Cup had 2.7 billion viewers. That's more than the entire population of North and South America combined. But in 2026, a lot has changed. In February 2026, just 4 months before the start of the World Cup, Hugo Alejandro Perez heard gunfire and explosions just outside his front door. And he lives just a few miles from the stadium, which will soon be a host to
Who is that?
the most prestigious sporting event on earth. Because of course, this was just after the death of El Mencho, after his capture by the Mexican army.
Yeah, and all that was happening in Jalisco,
Which caused serious unrest in many parts of the country that culminated in multiple arsons, violence, and lives lost, including 28 members of the Mexican National Guard. But that was in February, so I wondered what the situation was like now, and what it would be like by the time the World Cup rolls around.
Them bosses fine as fuck.
I wondered what the situation was like now, and what it would
Mommy, no, she bad. Mommy, no, get tahine and takis, la chamoy pickle.
be like by the time the World Cup rolls around. So it turns out that overall crime in the state of Jalisco pretty much calmed down within a couple days. And instead of a civil war, the CJNG appeared to pick a new leader pretty fast. And if the rumors are
Yeah,
true,
they got a new leader fast as hell. I think.
then this new leader is also an American citizen. But it makes sense. The CJNG wouldn't profit very much from infighting, and they already had a conflict like that a decade ago. But typically, in a state that's mostly inhabited by one uncontested cartel, things are a bit more calm. And this is evident with the data, because despite the reputation that Jalisco has, homicides were actually down to a near historic low that the state hasn't seen since the late 2010s, when it was a lot more dangerous due to the CJNG expanding. But in 2026, after the unrest, it's far from the war zone that many people in the US believed it to be, since most people probably assumed that it would be a long and bloody struggle caused by the power vacuum, but it appears that the organization El Mencho built is pretty sturdy and was definitely in a position to go on after his death. So as long as the Mexican government doesn't carry out another operation like that between now and June, the situation should remain calm, and honestly, the capture of El Mencho didn't really accomplish much. It actually hurt the Mexican government more than it helped. But of course, like a lot of times when a huge event is hosted somewhere, many things are being swept under the rug. That's evident by a local restaurant owner being skeptical about the government's effort to host the games when they haven't even fixed the water service to his house. But let's get into some good old-fashioned, corrupt Mexican politics, Jalisco style.
No, it is.
Because it's often debated, as pointed out in a video by Channel 5 by Katarina Solk, a boots-on-the-ground reporter, and Stefano Rittendale, who reports on all cartel activity, people might have the wrong idea about who controls who. Like, is the government doing the bidding of the cartel, or is it the other way around?
But if you read that article, people think that cartels control the corruption and that they bribe Mexican government officials, and these Mexican government officials like beholden to the cartels, and they do the cartel's bidding. But if you read that story, it's like, the question is not who really controlled who. A lot of times the Mexican government is the corrupt official that tells the cartels, you will pay me a portion of your profit, and if you don't, I'm going to send the military after you to kill you, and I'll go with your rival.
And just like the 2016 Summer Olympics in Rio, and even the Commonwealth Games at Birmingham, England, where the city had literally spent all of its money, the issues around Guadalajara will most likely just be swept under the rug with a pretty bow on top, because the Mexican government has already started fixing up local infrastructure, which is something they could have done literally at any time before now, but I guess better now than ever. But here, she was reading a note from the cartel threatening to expose corrupt city officials in Colima, which is about a 2.5-hour drive from the stadium just outside of Guadalajara. And the cartel wasn't lying. In fact, they might have even followed up on their threat, because 8 police officers in Colima were arrested just days later for providing sensitive information to the CJNG. And according to the Cartel Insider, they were using the same Swiss encrypted messaging app, Threema, that was also used in the assassination of a mayor last year. And in 2024, police engagements with the cartel in the state of Jalisco dropped to just 19, which, instead of implying that the police had the situation under control, it instead signaled that the police in the state have mostly given up on engaging with the CJNG, and the federal forces were now pulling all the weight. And despite how it sounds, it isn't necessarily a bad thing as far as safety, because if the area is not contested and the local police try not to engage, then that means the local populace doesn't have to deal with the effects of constant fighting and the aftermath of police raids. Which, yeah, that doesn't really solve anything, but at this point, with not only narcotics being involved, but also the sale of oil, lime, and avocados, it's unlikely that the cartels are going anywhere anytime soon. So honestly, cooperation.
Yeah, of course, bro. Solve all this and end all this. Just make cocaine and meth. Make it legal, gang. Make niggas be able to get it at the pharmacies. Just make it legal, and they gonna go out of business. Cause this is what they sell. That's all they sell. Fucking cocaine and meth and fentanyl. Like, just make this shit legal, bro.
Less conflict seems like the best case scenario. Might seem a bit morbid, but it's just my observation. I mean, 2 different mayors in Jalisco were arrested for doing cartel business within the past year alone, with the most recent being Diego Rivera, the mayor of Tequila, a city in Jalisco. He and 3 other city officials were arrested in February for extorting major alcohol distillers in collusion with the CJNG. And yes, this is where tequila comes from. So that means the CJNG could possibly also control tequila. And the new mayor, Lorena Marisol Rodriguez, was part of this corrupt mayor's team. So obviously, people are skeptical of her too, but for now, she's in charge. But I guess she at least acknowledged the existence of the extortion, so, I mean, self-aware politicians are pretty hard to come by. And although crime in the state's largest city, Guadalajara, has decreased, and has been decreasing for years now, it's still haunted by its past reputation. Over the past 8 years, nearly 7,300 people reported missing still haven't been found as of 2026, with most of them being men under 35. But as far as human rights go, I don't think Mexico tops the World Cup in Qatar, where over 6,000 migrant workers died trying to put the whole thing together. 2022 was in Abu Dhabi, which, no comment, and 2023 was in Saudi Arabia, also no comment. But for better or for worse, billions of pesos are being invested into the state of Jalisco in an attempt to make it a more global tourism spot, most likely as a result of the FIFA World Cup. 20 billion of those pesos are going into the development of 38 hotels.
Yeah, I'm watching this nigga speed at WrestleMania, bro. That's why I'm looking at my phone. Like, bro, what the fuck is...
which will create more jobs, and public spaces are also being improved throughout the state, including in the city of Tequila. 2.5 billion pesos are going into rehab in the congested Chapala Highway, which connects the Guadalajara airport to the city. And some locals claim that a 2-hour commute on the highway has been cut to 20 minutes as a result of this rehabilitation. And this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity for Guadalajara and Jalisco, because the last time a FIFA World Cup was hosted in Guadalajara was 40 years ago. And Mexico in general is expected to generate 200 billion pesos, or 11 billion US dollars in economic benefits, at least according to Mexico Business News. All in all, it is a great opportunity for the state of Jalisco and Mexico in general. And maybe even if I get my money up, I can get a ticket and maybe I'll come to the World Cup. If you haven't already, follow me on Twitch. I'll put the name somewhere on the screen, and also it's in the channel bio. But I appreciate you guys for watching. Shout out to the whole Jalisco and the whole Mexico, and I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, shout out Mexico, my nigga. You making all these videos on the cartel, my nigga. Your head better be safe. Going out there, my nigga. Shout out Mexico. Viva la Mexico. Thanks. I love Canelo. I love David Benavidez. Like...